Thank you for that very kind introduction. I think Alex, I think she wrote that.
Yeah, it was right from your website.
So, can everybody hear me? I've never had a problem with people being able to hear my voice, and sometimes I often get yelled at for yelling at people. My name is Mark Mahoney, and I am the relatively newly appointed director of the Bennington Museum. I've been on site and living in Bennington for the last 6 months. So I am a resident, I live on Grandview, I bought a house at the top of the market again, so congratulations.
The realtors are clapping for you.
Yeah, we're all realtors, we're like, yeah. Did the same thing in 2008. So this presentation is to introduce myself, to talk a little bit more about my background, why I came to Bennington, why I took this opportunity, current programs at the museum, the efforts we're doing to preserve and protect the community's resource. In many ways, we are the active living memory of the community. We hold these very, very special objects, archives, and knowledge that, it's in the public trust. So we take that very seriously. What's next at the museum and why the museum matters. And you did invite a not-for-profit person to come speak to you, so we're going to talk about fundraising too. So I grew up in the Adirondack Park, dead center of that giant green blob. The park is bigger than some of the states in New England. When I applied for this job, one of the first questions the board of directors asked me was, well, are you comfortable working in a rural setting? And I responded, I graduated with 15 people, so that was a check immediately. So I grew up in the town of Indian Lake, and if anybody's been there, let's raise their hand because, oh right, hey, I brought treats too. So, because I saw you first, get a pencil, Bennington Museum. One of my business professors always said that you always have to have a prize when you're doing a presentation. It keeps people interested. As mentioned, I did go to Castleton State. It was Castleton State College when I graduated in 1999. I received a bachelor's in history and art history. And about halfway through my junior year, I thought, what the heck am I going to do with that? Because I didn't want to teach. But I had an internship at the local museum in Indian Lake, and that really turned me around and made it feel like that was the direction I wanted to work in. So I immediately went into the graduate program at the State University of New York at Albany. Tremendous college, miles different than Castleton. If you've been to Castleton, tiny little town in Vermont, very quaint, very cute, beautiful Gothic architecture, Greek revival. SUNY Albany is a beast. There's a lot of cement, and there's about 25,000 students there. It was amazing. Great experience. I worked TA'd under a gentleman that was from Norway, was in Norway during the Nazi occupation, and what I was able to learn about how important it is to collect and preserve the community's public history and to never forget. That was really inspiring. And about 8 years ago, I finished up a MBA program at MCLA in North Adams, Massachusetts. You can tell I'm a proponent of the state education system. I love it. I think the bang for the buck is amazing. So, how did I start my journey? Well, at least I started in Denver. I took an internship, a paid internship in the conservation department at the Denver Museum of Natural History, and it was a fantastic opportunity. Because I was the youngest person there, I was assigned a really weird job. So one of the first things they did, they have a huge totem pole collection inside. And to clean them, you put a backpack vacuum on, you get lowered through the ceiling, and you hang there and vacuum the totem poles slowly. I was like, this is a cool job. When I was in grad school, I worked for the National Park Service. I was one of the people with the Smokey the Bear hat and the green pants and the gray shirt, and worked in Kinderhook. Now that is the Park Service site, in Kinderhook. It is known as the least attended Park Service site in the nation. For a pencil, what president was Martin Van Buren? What number? Anybody? Number
15.
Oh, close. Number 8.
Better than 35.
It's been a lot. So, graduated from SUNY Albany, and I was looking for a job, and I was able to secure a job at the Peabody Essex Museum, which is in Salem, Massachusetts. So it is a monster of a museum. They had, at the time that I was there, about 300 employees. They were in perpetual fundraising cycle, and that building is an addition that they put on in a year and a half while I was there. I was working in the Asian Export Art Department. That's what the museum was founded upon, the China trade. And you can see here in their East India Hall, this is some of the ship's figureheads that they had collected and preserved. Fantastic museum. Great place to work, amazing, amazing experience, but it's hard to live on minimum wage when you're on the North Shore of Boston. And I also wanted to get back and get some space, get some elbow room. So I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work for the Norman Rockwell Museum, just down Route 7. So I'm sure many of you have been there. I'm sure Norman Rockwell is a very familiar name to you all. And you'll notice I walk and talk when I present. Great opportunity. And I originally was hired into the collections department and promoted a number of times. And as Jonah mentioned, was responsible for the traveling exhibition program. As part of the traveling exhibition program, I went to 47 out of the 50 states in the United States and 5 countries. Actually, that's the team unloading a Norman Rockwell show. And where was that? That was in Hamburg, Germany. So we opened Norman Rockwell shows in Germany, in France at the Memorial de Caen, which is the museum dedicated to the D-Day invasion. We also opened a Rockwell show in Rome, Italy, which blew my mind. And I was also able to curate. So this was the last show I curated before I came to the museum. It's on, actually a Vermont author, an illustrator, David Macaulay. You may have heard of him. He did the books called The Way Things Work. He had a PBS series for years. He lives in Norwich, Vermont. And this was an exhibit on his immigration experience in the United States. He came, appropriately enough, on the liner SS United States. Biggest artifact I've ever worked with. Not the model. The ship still exists. So if you're ever in Philadelphia, right outside of the Ben Franklin Bridge, the SS United States is a big rotting hulk there. We got to tour it. I stood on top of that front smokestack, took some pictures. It was an amazing experience. It was also interesting to see, this very American presence. He's been a professor at RISD, but he was really affected by his immigration story. So he had a lot of compassion for other immigrants that were coming to the country today. Okay, why Bennington? Why do you want to come here? That's the second question I was asked. Are you used to small places, and why do you want to come here? For a couple of reasons. I love Vermont. Went to school in Vermont, as you can tell. That was a very transformative experience for me. Big hiker, big outdoors person. I went to Castleton, honestly, because it was close to Killington, and I had planned to ski my entire life. Kind of worked out. Grades weren't so great that first year, but Bennington was intriguing to me because of working with an artist like Norman Rockwell, knowing his work in Arlington, and knowing the Arlington illustrators and Grandma Moses. I was really, really excited to work with that collection, but also I like going to places that are punching up. So small museums that punch bigger than their weight. The Rockwell Museum is one of them, but I think the Bennington Museum has been and will continue to be a museum that does very good exhibitions that sometimes go under the radar, and trying to bring that to the next level is something I was really interested in doing. I also like the town. Okay, so what's going on in the museum? We're going to talk about exhibits, programming, outreach, the library, the Bennington Historical Society, and our wildflower trail. These are programs that are really kind of the bread and butter of what we do. And if I'm running long, somebody has to give me the high sign.
We have plenty of time.
I will talk forever. So the mission of the Bennington Museum, and I bring this up because this is what we center everything we do. Bennington Museum engages and transforms our visitors and our community by connecting them to our region's diverse arts, rich history, and culture of innovation. Before we make any decision or any direction change, we look at this mission and say, does it fit? That is the key question to everything we do. And I bring that up because it's very important. So, one of the most visible things we do are exhibitions. So, right now on view, and we've just reopened on the 1st, we have a small show, Marion Hughes, picturing Powell. Ms. Hughes was a painter who worked in the 1940s, 30s, 40s, and 50s in Vermont. Very evocative WPA work. It's very interesting because if you are familiar with Powell, you will see her landscapes appear in her paintings. Our main show is Parks and Recreation. And Parks and Recreation was curated by our wonderful curator, Jamie Franklin. Many of you know. If you don't know, he's the gentleman that's always walking around town with a suit coat and fedora on. He did a fantastic job and talks about how the state parks and the recreation business helped brand Vermont as the way people outside of Vermont see it, as this green space that's just full of these amazing recreational opportunities, and what role the Long Trail played in that, and I could go on and on. Coming up next year in 2023 is a show called Haunted Vermont, talking about the spaces and places and the specters and ghouls in our local area, some of the myths and legends of it, how it's portrayed in not only photograph, painting, but also many authors that worked here, like Shirley Jackson. And the other show that's coming up is called For the Love of Vermont, and that is a partnership with the Southern Vermont Arts Center. Something that I really think is important is to connect the two shires. Am I getting that right? So there's making sure that there's a lot of intersectionality, there's a lot of cultural exchange, that people from Manchester come down to Bennington to see artworks and vice versa. This is really centered on the collection of the Vermont Country Store, Lyman Norton, for those of you who know. He has a fantastic painting collection. This is a Mead Schaefer, one of those Arlington illustrators, and it's a painting of Bromley Mountain, and it appeared on the Saturday Evening Post cover in 1947. Other programs that are happening at the museum, the first two are free. Concerts in the courtyard every Friday. Come to the museum. We've got music in the courtyard. We'll have food trucks. We'll have the avocado pit up there. They will be providing food that you can buy. We also have a series called Music at the Museum. A little bit more refined music, I guess, for the lack of word, but it is in the Peresky Court. This is, again, a free program for the community. Come on into the museum for major concerts happening. Fantastic work. The third one isn't free, but it's a partnership. It's a partnership with Castleton University. It's the Teachers Institute. And it's a way for our educators to collaborate with local teachers who need college credit because they never stop learning. So if you need college credit, come to the Teachers Institute, get your college credit through the Castleton University system, but learn how to use museums and museum artifacts in your lesson plan. I think this is one of our most popular ones. Museum ABCs. Museum ABCs is a wonderful program for children 3 to 5 years old and their adult companions. This is a completely free program. It's produced with the Bennington Free Library. And I usually don't shout out our sponsors, but the Bank of Bennington has been sponsoring this program for over 10 years and has done a phenomenal job. So for parents that are, this was really important these last few years, parents that are going crazy because they're cooped up in with their kids for 2 years, this is a free program. They can bring their kids to, they can engage with art, sculpture, or outdoors, completely free. 2 hours, it's a beautiful thing. Okay, what else is under the museum's umbrella? We all obviously have a library and the Bennington Historical Society. The Bennington Historical Society sits under our operational umbrella. They also run programs at the museum. They run free programs once a month at the museum. And next to the museum is the George Aiken Wildflower Trail, which is 10 acres that has slowly been turned into this pristine vision that George Aiken had when he cataloged all of the plants that were growing in Vermont. So they've done an amazing job clearing it out of the invasives. It's a great place for people to walk, to exercise their pet, or to bring their kid before they go into the museum to walk some skiing. Whew. Breathe. Preservation and protection. This is what really any institution like ours, like the museum, is based on. Preservation and protection of our shared history. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by taking care of collections. We take care of physical objects. And we do that by putting them in storage or putting them into galleries. And this year we really invested in behind-the-scenes improvements, operational improvements. And all of you that own businesses, you know that operational improvements, for lack of a better word, are the least sexy thing that you can invest in. Nobody cares about your electric or plumbing or HVAC system. It's hard to get a funder to get excited to put down a floor. But because of deferred maintenance, we had a lot of catching up to do, and we really invested in that in the last few years, or the last 6 months, excuse me. So we took this gallery and we turned it into this gallery. So floor improvements, lighting improvements, new paint just made a world of difference. We took our introduction space, which was this empty corner when you walk into the lobby, and turned it into this. So this is a space that answers a question that many people have when they walk into the museum. What do you have here? We wanted to highlight 4 aspects of our collection. We wanted to highlight, we tell the history of the Battle of Bennington. We tell the history of the pottery industry in Bennington. We have a fantastic Grandma Moses collection. And we also tell the story of Bennington modernism. And the 5th highlight we added is we tell the story of everyday people in Bennington County as well. Again, this is one of our new spaces. This is Parks and Recreation. This is how it's installed. And it makes a world of difference having fresh paint, good lights, and new floors in the space. Other things that have been happening, electrical upgrades I mentioned, HVAC, and security and safety upgrades. Security and safety came to the forefront honestly, in October when we had a vandalism issue at the museum. The large Lincoln statue was spray painted and graffiti. That is, if you walk up to today, you can still see the ghosting of that graffiti that is due to be restored when it gets warmer out. But really brought it to the forefront. We need to improve our safety and security. We need to be able to take care of our objects and our visitors. So what's next? So, really fun stuff. We're going to get to business school again. Strategic planning, that's done. We know what we want to do. Now we're on to our master plan. How are we going to do it? And we're going to look at improving operational excellence, financial stability, and I want to mention that we are happily running in the black. We will, all things being equal, we will run a surplus this year. It's very, very important for a not-for-profit. Our margins are super thin. Invest in infrastructure, you can see that we're doing that. Outreach, maintain outreach, and try to get our staff more into the community, or the community more aware of our staff. Now, our staff all live in the surrounding areas. There are a number of us that live in Bennington. The rest of our staff either live in White Creek, right across the border. I think the person that travels the farthest lives in Cambridge, New York, which is a haul, but God bless it. And also growth. How are we going to look to grow? Growth doesn't mean necessarily do we want to expand the campus, do I want to add another level, do I want to add another wing? No. How do we expand our growth into the community and into the mindset of everyone in the area? And why are we doing this? Because the Battle of Bennington anniversary is coming up in a few years. And we want to kind of synchronize and harmonize all of our improvements in hopefully a future capital campaign to help celebrate the Battle of Bennington, and of course, the Bennington Museum Centennial, which will happen the year after. So that is 100 years of the Bennington Museum in the area, which is fantastic. This was at our winter party this year. So, case for support. Why is it important that all of you listen to me, besides the awesome lunch that you just ate, and think about the museum as an asset? Well, we are an asset. We sit here at the bottom of the state, at the entrance to Vermont, and we're a great place to get an introduction to what Vermont is all about, what the history is. We help drive visitation and tourist dollars. Of course, people don't necessarily come from miles away, though many do, to come see the Bennington Museum. Grandma Moses is a huge draw. The Jane Stickle quilt, you've never seen people obsessed about something like quilters. So all of you that quilt, you know, those people, they're in. Same with anybody that is really interested in our collection. We also support local educators. We help give them the tools to succeed. And we build connections between the community. With all of our partnerships, we are kind of becoming interconnected because we're a small institution, we're a lean staff, we have to rely on other connections within the community. So, purpose and aspiration. This is something that the board has been talking about quite a bit. So our purpose is to create effective connections and community through art, history, and nature. To tell this, we tell and exchange stories focused on our collections and the culture of the region. That's it. That's our purpose. That's why we're there. That's a direct link with our mission. We aspire is that through our collections and programs, people everywhere will come to value the stories of Vermont, the Bennington region, and the achievements of those who have lived here. That's what we hope to do. We boiled it down to one mission statement in 2 paragraphs. So, with that being said, my presentation is done. I welcome your questions. I am going to pass out some propaganda, some paraphernalia. So, and this is my call. This is Parks and Rec flyer. This is the exhibit that is currently on view at the museum. For those of you who haven't been to the museum in a while, please come. Please come, take a look at what we're doing, and see how we're presenting the local culture and the community. And for those of you who would like it, become a member. Membership is awesome. You get to go to some awesome parties. Please get that and pass it around. Now, I'm done talking. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
The library, I've
Yes.
always been intrigued with. Where is it in the museum? Can you just show up and poke around?
You can't go into the library. The library is free. So if you're looking, it's geographically, it's located in the church, the old church building on the front. So you would walk in and you just introduce yourself to Jason or Matthew, one of our front of the house people. You go up the stairs and take a left.
And then just poke around?
You can poke around. The library is usually open Mondays and Thursdays. Check our website, give us a call ahead of time. It's a great resource for genealogy. We are taking a hard look at what volumes we still have because everything is online and we're just digitizing and offering computers to people who are interested. So if you have a genealogy project, great place to go. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
That's probably a good segue to give a shout out positively to my organization, Jane Garcia, who's a volunteer in the library.
Yep.
Great staff. Another is Callie, who works for the museum. You have wonderful staff members and always welcoming, especially at the front desk.
Thank you very much. That's good feedback. And that's another thing I'd like to take away from this feedback. So you don't have to tell me now in front of everybody, but if you have positive or negative things you want to tell me or suggest, please do. Yes, sir.
I just want to say the first-hand experience while working with you guys through the tutorial center that you guys do a lot of great work. We've had volunteers working in the gift shop for internships as well as helping with the Wildflower Trail. Our YAP students have gone through there. That they love the experiences. They're students that never worked a day in their lives, never really wanted to, except for on computers and video games, and spent the entire summer, last summer and the summer before, working in the garden, planting trees and clearing things up. It was a great experience. But also, with you guys, straight day, you're black, and you get to do more business-wise. But I read a study where you guys alone bring about $4 million to the town, just by people coming to see the museum. So keep that in mind, like the fact that you bring outsiders from outside of our state into the state to spend in our community. So that's pretty huge. But I do appreciate all the work you guys do with our students.
Well, thank you very much. And we've had some great improvements to what we can offer the community. So recently, in the last year, we have a scholarship program for high school juniors who paid. This is very important. A paid program, scholarship/internship for the summer for high school juniors who are interested in at least exploring the idea of working in a museum. And that doesn't mean just being a curator or director or someone that works with the objects. That could be someone who's interested in business, someone that's interested in the trades. It just gives them the opportunity to try something new. And that is a program that originally was conceived by Michelle Pagan, who was a native Vermonter, moved away, moved back to Dorset, and established this fund to help support this. And we've been fundraising to round out this fund so we can offer to students. We hope to grow our endowment to the point where we can continue to offer it to high school juniors, and it's eligible to any high school junior that's in the area. More information you can find on our website. Questions? Yes, sir.
Where is this Wildflower Trail? There's not much space there to
Yep.
museum, but-
So if you're standing in the parking lot and you're looking, the museum's here, and then the schoolhouse is right in front of you, and there's that pavilion on the left. It's on the left of the pavilion. You can see the trail sneaking up. It sneaks into the meadow.
There's 10 acres up in there?
Yeah, more or less.
Wow.
Or we might have 10 acres total. We don't have too much on our footprint. You can tell we're right against the graveyard.
Yeah.
And then we go right into that parking lot.
Understandable.
Anything else? Yes.
So, as a member, which I am, my wife and I,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. And the great thing about that is you also get entry to another number of other museums as part of the network. Do you know how many? There's something like 20, 40 museums you can also get.
Right. So if you become a member at the Bennington Museum, you get reciprocal admission to not only all the local museums in the area, but it's something called NARM, which gives you access to hundreds of museums in the country. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a really great bang for your buck. So if you're a museum person and you're going to go to 2 or 3 a year, that membership will save you money. Yes, sir.
We went to the Frost exhibit last year twice, and it was really amazing. The woodblock prints that were just little subtle parts of his publications that I never paid any attention to. They were really beautiful works of art, and the personal papers and stories. It was really a wonderful exhibit.
And
Thank you for
Jamie
doing
does
it.
an amazing job. He is a world-class curator that loves this area, came here right out of grad school, went to Williams College, their graduate program, and you hooked him. This area hooked him, and you're lucky to have him. He's great. As are all the staff there. The staff, I mean, working at a not-for-profit, you do it because, you don't do it to get rich, you do it because you love what you do. Questions? Follow-up? Yes?
I'm a former art teacher, graduated from Castleton University as well, and I was interested in your teacher education collaboration with Castleton University. I know recertification credits were always sort of hard to come by, particularly in my discipline of the visual arts, and just want to say a shout out that you're actually pursuing that because it's a gift to arts educators in the area.
Well, thank you. And we try to keep it as low cost as possible. We're constantly looking for funding sources to help supplement the educator's stipend for that. Because college is expensive, but it's the second year of the program. We've gotten a great response from the rollout last year. I say we because it's the royal we. And Dina Mallory has done an amazing job with it, so really couldn't be happier. Anything else, folks? If you want to talk to me, I'll be here. Did I run over in time? How did I do?
Not at all. Right on